theory. So I'll go through the material, the handouts, and all that we have to look at, or all that we have to consider. Then when we meet face to face, we'll go into do some practical demonstrations, and then from there we divide ourselves into our groups, work on some assignments. Okay. I think majority of you couldn't make it last Tuesday, sure, because of the rain. And there was a call for us to have it online, but I think I didn't have good internet, so I felt that would be a waste of resources if we go by that means. So basically that was what we did. We looked at introduction to VB as a program and as a programming language. Okay, so today I'll just rush through it, and hopefully when you get the handouts, you can go through. So he said VB is one of the object-oriented programming language, VB.NET. It's a very simple language to learn. It's also easy to implement, and he said it works on the .NET framework. Now, .NET framework is a framework that is available on Windows machine, which helps application to run. Okay, so just like when we did the Java, we know of the JDK or SDK, which helps the application to write. Similarly, when you come to VB.NET, also has the application being implemented on Microsoft's .NET framework. Now, this .NET framework is on every Windows application. It's a Windows feature. You can always search for it. It comes in various versions, which you can update and so on. Okay. So we talked about some features of the programming language, that's VB programming language. It has object-oriented concepts, so things to do with abstraction, inheritance, and so on. And it's a language design. The language is used to design user interfaces as well, mobile application, web application. It has a rapid development toolkit. It is not case sensitive like C++ and Java. It supports Boolean conditions for decision making. It supports multi-threading. That means you can do multiple tasks at the same time. It provides event management, so handling of events. It also helps you to develop a Windows form application. Okay, so just like we did in Java last semester in developing application with graphical user interface with a form, with VB.NET, you can also do same, but in this case, there's no particular attention to the layout manager like we have in Java. Okay, so it's not as robust, it's not as detailed like the way we come up with the forms in a in Java. Okay, but it's robust and it's also easy to handle. Okay. Then it uses external objects. Okay, as reference, it supports automatic garbage collection. It follows a structure or is structured. Okay, and a sensible programming language for error detection, and also used to handle generic classes. Okay. So basically, that was some of the things we discussed last week, and then also about the .NET framework and what it does, and the various versions of .NET framework. Then I also talked about difference between VB.NET and Visual Basic. Okay, now VB.NET and Visual Basic is just the main difference is that VB.NET is a more enhanced version of the Visual Basic. So Visual Basic initially started as basic language, and then further, the basic language is a third generation language, just like C, Fortran, Pascal, and so on. Then they upgraded it to Visual Basic, which is more object oriented. Then even with the Visual Basic, they came to Visual Basic dot 6.0. Then eventually in 2000, the .NET, which is the network enabled technology, also came up, which is more higher in terms of performance, reliability, working environment, reliable working environment, and also easy to build and debug your application. Okay. Now, now the features that it supports is the ActiveX technology. Now that this ActiveX technology, we are going to engage it a lot or use it a lot when it comes to developing what we call VBA application. Okay, so from our content here, we'll be looking at Microsoft Excel, okay, and trying to write code behind Excel, develop interface, and make it, give it a user interface to help people interact with Excel. So it's not mainly about just opening your application and seeing cells and seeing the spreadsheets. Okay, but you can give it a nice interface by use of the ActiveX technology. All right. So the software we are going to use is the Visual Studio, either the Ultimate or the Community version, and there's also VS Code. Okay, so if you want to use VS Code too, that's fine. However, you need to install the VB.NET plugins or extensions in VS Code in order to use it. But when you go to the lab, you'll be using Visual Studio. Let's look at the program structure today. We are going to focus more on the program structure and then look at some basic syntax when it comes to VB.NET. Now, VB.NET is, like I said, an object-oriented programming language. And just like every other programming language, there's a structure that it follows. Okay, so with a VB program or any VB program or source code you see should have or should contain or consist of the following. So there should be a namespace, okay, declaration of a namespace. There should be a class or a model. There should be one or more procedures. You should have, in VB.NET, a procedure is the same as a function or a method. Okay, so just like in Java, we have the public static void main. Okay, in VB.NET, it's called the main procedure. Okay, so procedures are also known as functions or subs. We'll go more into that. Then there should be variables. Okay, so you declare variables. Then it should have a main procedure. A main procedure is where you run the application. And then there should also be statements and comments, statements and expressions. So expressions are maybe mathematical expressions, and then so basically how you use your operators. Okay, so expressions that are used, how you use your operators. So things like having some formula you need to use to solve a problem. Okay, all those things are part of the program structure in VB.NET. All right. So this is a simple VB program. I believe we can all see this. Can we all see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So just a moment. So this is the interface we are going to use. Sorry. I'm having a few challenges. Okay, but let's continue. Maybe I'll sort it out. All right, so this is a simple code structure, okay, or program structure in VB.NET. Okay. Now it starts by saying import system. Okay, so basically the import system, it means that we are going to be using a system, okay, or a console, okay, or in Java, okay, you come up with a package. You have some form of packages that we use. Okay. Now in the system, you can do inputs and outputs. Okay, so by default, it's using the import system. That's the namespace declaration. Then it gives you a model. Okay, so model, you said you should have a model. So it gives you a model. Now in VB.NET, you don't need the semicolon at the end of your statement. You don't need your curly brackets, for instance, in Java when you create a class. Okay, so the model, starts model, and then you always end the model. So the model is started here. Okay, this is the beginning of the model, and then you end the model. Okay, so basically, if you create a project, this is generated by default. Okay, so by default, you have this generated for you. Then this is how you write a comment in VB.NET. This is how you write a comment in VB.NET. Just a moment.
Hello.
All right, so let's continue. So in VB.net, this is how you write your comments. So anytime you write a comment, you have your single quotes before it. Once you put a single quote there, you have your comment. Then this is the main procedure. Okay, so in Java, we have the public static void main where the code is executed. In VB, you have the sub main. Okay, sub main. And then you end the sub. Okay, so within the sub, we want to print out hello VB.NET class. Okay, so you use the console.writeLine to perform the printing. Okay, whatever you want to display. So we want to display this string. We use console.writeLine. In Java, we do the system.out.println. Okay. However, in this case, we use console.writeLine. Okay. Then there is also console.write. Okay, so if you remember in Java, we use system.out.print and then system.out.print line, which is the print ln. Okay, so those options are also available. It's just a moment. So in Java, we're talking about the the system.out.print line and the system.out.print. Okay, what's the difference between the two? Anyone? Anyone?
Please come again.
In Java, we did system.out.println anytime we want to output, or system.out.println. And then we had also system.out.print. What's the difference between the two?
Okay. With the system dot out dot print line.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will print the information on the how do you call it? I don't even know how to put it.
Feel free, just flow. I'm sure we'll understand you.
Yeah, what I want to say that the system, the print line will print the information on the
line.
Not on the line, but it will print it without the I don't know. Oh.
Anyone wants to help?
Sir, the system dot print line will print the information and move to the next line. But the system dot print will print everything on just a single line.
Yeah. Okay, so the system.out.print line prints on a line and then moves to the next line to print. Whereas the system.print just displays everything. So if you have about 3 lines of system.print and you are printing your name in those 3 lines of code, what will happen is that to print everything in just 1 line. Okay, so VB.NET also does the same with the console.write and console.write line. Okay. Then it uses console.read and read line to accept inputs. So whilst it's using write and write line to accept, to perform outputs or displaying whatever you want to print out to display, it uses the .out console.read and read line to perform the input. Okay, so we'll get there. Then it uses console.read key, okay, also to hold the system or the key, to hold the console. Okay, so if we say console, we are basically talking about the fact that just like we did in Java 1, okay, whatever you write, there's no graphical, whatever code you write, there's no graphical user interface to it. Okay, so it just displays it on the console. Now, when the console pops up, okay, it's supposed to stay for you to read whatever or display whatever is going to output. But what happens is that it just pops up and then disappears again or exits by itself. So you use the console.read key to hold the console or the terminal, the command prompt terminal, so that you can see whatever text you are trying to output. Okay, so basically that's the program structure of your VB.NET. Having some issues with the Visual Studio account. Okay, so I wanted to sort it out and then demonstrate some of these things to you, but I think we can continue. Hopefully when we meet face to face, we try all these things out. Okay. Now, when we talk about the class or the models, they will contain more than one procedure, just like in Java, when you create a class, okay, you can have one or more methods in there. Okay. By default, the main method is there. So also in VB.NET, it will contain more than one procedure. Okay, now this procedure contains executable code. In other words, they define the behavior of the class. Now, a procedure may contain the following: may contain a function, may contain a sub, contain an operator, or maybe a getter, a get function or a set function, add handler, remove handler, and then raise event. Okay, these are all procedures in VB.NET. Now there's a difference between the function and the sub, okay, which we are going to look at in this course. So basically, that is it for the program structure. Okay. Now let's look at the basic syntax. Now VB follows all the basic syntax that we know. So identifiers, VB uses identifiers. An identifier is a name used to identify a class, a variable, a function, or any user-defined item. Okay, and then the identifier, there are rules governing how they are used. And these are rules that we all know from fundamental of programming. Now, the rules are that anytime you are writing your identifiers or your variable names, you should have, or you should start with letters, okay, or letters and sequence of letters with digits or underscore. Okay, you don't use other symbols like question mark, asterisk, ampersand, carat, and so on. Okay, the only symbol that's allowed is the underscore. And then also you do not leave a space okay, between the, if you are writing two words, you either join them together or use an underscore. And then also, it should not be a reserved word. Your identifiers or your variable name shouldn't be reserved words. Okay. All right. So there are some keywords in VB.NET. In fact, there are a lot of them. Okay, as compared to other programming languages, there are a lot of them in VB. So there's the add handler, there's Boolean, there's catch, continue, cint, class, as, and alias, a whole lot of them. Okay, a whole lot of them. So all the list is here for you. And you should know all this as keywords so that you don't eventually use them as identifiers or variable names in your program. Okay. Then data types. We know data types as a type of variable or function which is used to hold data. The type used to define the type of variable or function in your program. So whichever data you are going to use in the program, is it a numeric data type? Is it a character data type? Is it a Boolean data type? Is it a string? Okay, so all these data types also exist in VB.NET. Okay. Now in VB.NET, when you want to declare your data type, okay, you start with the keyword dim. Okay, so dim means you are declaring in memory whatever variable. Okay, anytime you declare variable, it means that what a place is being reserved in memory to hold that variable. Okay, so we dim, this is the syntax followed by the variable name, whatever name you want to give. Then another keyword as, then followed by the data type you are defining. Okay, so there are various data types. Okay, so if, for instance, if I want to declare my name as a variable, I'll say dim name as string. So where name is the variable name, which is my name, and it's a string, the data type is a string. Okay, so this is a syntax for declaring a variable in VB.NET. Now, some of the data types include Boolean, and we know Boolean is either true or false. Then there's byte, there's char, there's date, there's decimal. Now, one thing you should know is that almost all the data types, apart from char, which is for character, are written in full. Okay, so where in Java, we write integer, we write int. Okay, with VB.NET, we write it in full, integer, bool, instead of bool. In Java, you write it in full, Boolean. Okay, so there's char, there is date, so a data type called date, which is able to access the date of the system that is running the application. There's a data type for decimal. There's a data type for double. There's integer, there's long, there's object, there's s byte, there's short, there's single, there's string, there's uint, there's long int. Uint is unassigned int. The s is sign. Okay, so sign, that means it includes negative and so on. Okay. Then there's also the user-defined structure. So the user-defined has to do with data that depends on implementing a particular platform. So maybe arrays, lists, and so on. Okay. And then there's also objects. The object size is based on the platform that you are using, whether it's a 32-bit or it's a 64-bit. Okay, so if it's a 32-bit, it's going to take 4 bytes in memory. If it's a 64-bit, it's going to take 8 bytes in memory. Okay, so these are the data types in VB.NET. Now let's look at an example on how to implement them. Now we'll be trying these examples in class. Okay, I just want us to follow through and understand, at least have a picture of how this is done, so that when we meet face to face, we do the demonstration and the practice and assignments that goes with it. Now, the model data type, that's the first structure. Then you have your subname. Then you define the data types. This is the comment for defining the data types to the variables. Okay. So if we take a variable b, we deem b as bytes. So b as bytes is equal to 1. So here we are initializing it by assigning a value to it. Then you deem number as integer. So the variable is number as integer equals 5. That means we are assigning 5 to the variable number. Then we deem SI as single, deem DB as double, deem get date. Now this is a variable name, 2 different words. We separate them with the underscore. Okay, so get date as date. Then C as car, deem C as car, then deem STR as string. Okay. Now if we come down, values are being assigned to them in that particular order. So this is a single. So single has to do with a single data type. Okay. Single has to do with a single data type. Now the single data type is a decimal data type. Okay, so just like we have a float, which has a lower level of precision, and double has a higher level precision or a longer level precision. The same way, there's single and then there's double. So the single is working more like the float. Okay, so single, you can see the number of decimal places. The double can take a longer decimal place. Then get date equals today. So this is the value today. So what happens is that it picks the date of the dates of the system on which it is running. Okay, so if for instance it's today's date, it will pick today's date. Okay. Please, I hope you are following.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after declaring and initializing the variable, now you want to print them. So like we said, use the console.writeLine to print. Okay. So for instance, if we want to print out the bytes, we say, okay, we put a string, byte is, then we put in there this curly bracket with 0 in it. Okay. To specify the value of B in memory. and then print it out here. So it's going to say byte is, then this will fetch the value of B in memory, which is 1, and give you byte is 1. Okay, so this is fetching the value of B in memory. Okay. Now, we realize that when we do the output for all of them, because we want to fetch the value of the variables, we put what? Percentage, sorry, curly brackets with 0 in there to fetch the value of these variables into the string, okay, in order for it to read the values. Okay. So take note of that. We'll be doing more of that. There's also another approach, but another style. Okay, but we'll do that. I'll introduce that to you during the practical session. Okay. So this to show you how we declare variables, how you initialize them in Visual Basic.NET. Okay. Then VB.NET also has what we call the type conversion functions. Okay, so you have a data type, let's say in char. Okay, and you want to convert it into an int. So a data type like A or the letter A, which is a character, and you want to convert it into an int. Okay, so what happens is that you need to use these conversion types, their functions. So you just choose the function. Okay, so if I have a data type which is char and I want to convert it to int, I'll use the cint. Now I put the expression in there. So the expression is it the variable name of that variable holding the char. I put that variable name in here. Then what it does, it will convert that expression into an integer data type. Okay, so there are a whole lot of them. There's cbool, there's cbyte, cchar, cint, and so on. And they are all converting into their respective data type. Okay. Now let's look at an example here. All right, so this is an example on the conversion type. So I'll just take one of the places where that is happening. Okay, so we dim. I saw a question. What's the dim? Yeah, the dim stands for dimension. Okay, basically, what it does is it does the declaration. Okay, declaration in memory. So it declares and allocates storage space in memory for the variable. Okay, so that's what it does. Now, we are declaring a variable that is dbl data as double. Now, that dbl data, we are assigning a double value of 5.78 to it. Then we're also declaring other variables A and B. Okay, so you can declare like one, two or more variables on the same line and specify if they are taking the same data type. You do it this way. Going forward, we look at how to declare it if they are taking different data types. Okay, so A and B as char, then dim bool as boolean. Okay, we assign the value to it, that is true. Then dim x, z, and b int as integer. Okay, now A, which was declared here as char, is now being assigned what's a character A. Okay, so the letter A. Then B is being assigned a character or the letter B. Now B int okay, which was declared as integer, is now equal to ASCII value of B. Okay, so ASC W into bracket B. What this is going to do is that it's going to check for the ASCII value of B. Okay. So if we say ASCII value of B, I believe I've shown you that table before. If not, let me just go back and search for it quickly. Just a moment.
Please, I have a question.
Yes, please go on while I.
Okay, earlier you said that a single we used to declare a decimal, and here
Yes.
we are using double also to declare a decimal. So what's the
Yeah.
difference between the two, sir?
So like I was saying, the difference has to do with the precision. Okay, and the value they occupy in memory. Just like we have float and double in Java. Okay, and the way we use them interchangeably. But if you are using, you can use double for salary. Salary is 2 decimal places. Okay. However, if you have, you can also use float for salary. Okay. However, if you have values with decimal places or precision exceeding, say, 6 decimal places, okay, it's advisable you use double for them rather than single.
Okay.
You get it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so this is the chat ASCII conversion chart. Okay, so if we look at the ASCII values, you can see them on the left hand side, sorry, the right hand side. Okay, so all the symbols and keys you see on the keyboard has their respective ASCII value in binary, hexadecimal, octal, and then decimal. So what we saw in that code for the B int is going to convert that B int, the ASCII value in decimal is 66. Okay, so that value will be converted to 66 based on the code here. Okay, so if we go further down, it says what system.out ASCII value of B is. So this will fetch the value of B int, and the value of B int is ASCII WB. Okay, so this is a function which is replace the ASCII value of a character or whatever character you enter. Please, I hope you are following. All right. Now,
Yes,
if we
sir.
come to the next line, it's doing that for the Z. So Z is equal to the ASCII value of A. So if you go back to that chart, the ASCII value of A is 65. Okay, so it's going to print out 65 as the value for Z. Then you can convert a C string. The Boolean value for bool is what's true. Okay, so what it will do is that the C string will now convert the value for bool, which is true, into a string. So now the true that we see will no longer be a Boolean value or true or false, but rather it will now be a string true. Okay, it will now be a string true. Okay. So that's how the type conversion works. So converts your character to string to integer to Boolean and so on. All right, so Still on variables and then constants. Now we know variables are values in the program which can change, whereas constants are values which remain the same in the program. Okay. Now, when you declare variables, like I said, we use the word dim. Okay. So dim is used to declare and allocate space for one or more variable in memory, and then you specify the variable name and so on. Okay. Now, if you have more than one variable to declare, okay, and more than one data type for those variables, or two different variables with two different data type, you can equally declare it this way. So dim a variable, let's say I want to declare age, my age, and then my name. Okay. So let's say variable one is my age. So dim age as integer, comma, name, which is variable two, as string. Okay. So you can see that what instead of writing the dim all over again, like we saw in previous example, we can do all those declaration of variables in just one line. And then once we do that, we can come and assign values to these variables respectively. Okay. So there's an example here. Like I said, we'll try them when we meet in class. Now, there is, how do we accept input from users? Okay, so there are ways of putting input into a program. It's either you initialize it or you accept inputs from the user. So getting values from the user in VB.NET, like I said, we use the console.readLine, the readline function to perform that. Okay, so this is a typical example. We want to accept name into our program. So maybe your name, my name. So we dim name as string. Then we say name equals console.readline. So that means that whatever name you enter, whether Edwin or Arnold, whatever name, Cornelia, that name will now be stored in the variable name, okay, by virtue of the console.readline or the readline function. So another example here explaining it further, how it works. So dim num as double, dim age as int, dim name as string. So it says console.writeLine. So this will print out, enter your favorite number. Then the console.readline, that's number equals console.readline, will now accept whatever number you entered. Then console.writeLine, which will print out, enter your name. Now the name, whatever name you entered, will be read into the variable name. Then console.writeLine, enter your age, whatever age you entered will be read into the variable age because of the console.readline here. Then eventually you can come and output them just like we've seen with previous examples. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Please, if you have questions, ask so. Like I was saying, this I'm sure we'll be having about 4 more face-to-face to go. This is our out of 6. This is our supposed to be our I think next week will be the second face-to-face. Okay, so in that case, what will happen is that for each of the face-to-face, we are going to be doing writing codes, assignments, and that will be used for your continuous assessment. And eventually that will count for your attendance. Okay, so if you are in a group of say 6 and you alone, you are absent, what the group did in class as an assignment, the marks will be awarded to those who were present. If you're absent, you're absent. You'll be scored 0. Okay, and that 0, you have just a week to redeem yourself before the next face-to-face. Okay, so if you want to redeem yourself, you come to the office. I give you some code to write, and then you come and perform that. Unless your case is special, like I said, this semester, no calling. Only class reps can call. If you have any issue, you send me an email, okay, and then I'll respond to you. So if you have a peculiar issue, and that's the reason why you can't come, just send me an email. Usually with a call, sometimes I forget or I don't even pick at all. So when we do the email, at least there's an evidence there that a mail was sent regarding a particular issue or a particular permission you are looking for. Okay, yeah, Theophilus, your hand is up.
Yes, sir. I want to find out whether the 0 between the curly brackets is
Yes.
it a constant? Is it always going to be 0?
Yes, it's always going to be 0. That's if you are doing it this way. You are referencing only one item in your output. It will always be 0. Okay. However, we'll look at that in the face. However, if you have more than one item you want to output, so maybe instead of doing 3 lines of console.writeLine, okay, I want to write, okay, you have entered this number, then separate it with a comma. So I want to use one console.writeLine to output all these 3 variables. Then in that case, the first variable, which is number, will take 0. That's if I'm doing all the outputs with a single console.write instead of doing it 3 like I've done. Okay, so that I'll separate each of the text inside the bracket, but all within one bracket. So the first instance or the first variable will be referenced with 0. The second one, which is name, will change to 1. So it's going to pick it for the name. The third one will change to 2. So it will reference it for age. Okay, so that option is also there, but that happens when you are doing what we call concatenation of your strings or your outputs. Okay. Theophilus, I hope your question has been.
Yes, please. And also, please, can you, if it's possible, share with us the setup for the VS, because I tried downloading it and the things I was seeing, it's going to take more than even 30 gig to get the full setup. So I want to know which ones are needed, because I saw one that was saying that you'll be able to create console applications and all that, but it was like 7 gig. So maybe if you can share the setup with us so that it will reduce our stress, Kaka.
Okay, so hopefully when we meet face to face, what I'll give you is the 2010 version, because the current versions are very big. It's true. We also tried downloading an offline version, and was about 41 gig or so. That's the latest version. And even when you download it, like you are saying, 30 gig, by the time you finish installing, it will take some of your data and also install additional files, which will even exceed the 30 gig you are saying. So we use the version, the 2010. Previous years, that's what we've all been using. Even in the exams, that's what they use. So we are just looking at the basic syntax, the console and the form, nothing more. The thing about the interface is that it runs on other programming languages. Okay, so that's how come is that huge. And there are also some internet or network related security services that are also built into it. So hopefully we are face-to-face meeting. I'll make that available.
Okay, please. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's continue. So there are two ways in which expressions are can be expressed in VB.NET. Okay, there is the left value type of expression and the right value type of expression. So this basically has to do with when you have expression in the form of, say, maybe a value in this form, 10 equals X. The 10 is the left-hand side and the X is the right-hand side. So the value on the left, the value on the right. Okay. So it says that with the left value, it refers to a memory location for storing the address of the variable. Okay, so if you take note, usually the left value, like in this case, the X equals 10. Okay. It's the memory location for storing the variable. Now, an L value is a variable that can appear on the left or the right of the assignment operator to hold values. Now, in comparison to or swapping the variables values, you can define the variable on both sides, whether the left of the assignment, the left or right side of the assignment operator. Okay, so this is the L value, what is saying can be done. Now with the R value, it is used to store a value of the same, store a value in the same address of the memory. So R value, usually you see your variable appear on the right side. And those options, like I said, are also there in VB.NET. And in VB.NET, there's also a keyword here, constant, which is used to declare variables. So you can declare a variable as constant. Okay, so a typical example is pi. We know pi, when you are finding the area of a circle, the value of pi is constant. Okay, so you can use pi, declare it as constant, and then you can further use that particular variable in your computation. Okay, so in this example here, pi has been declared as constant. All the other variables here have been declared as constant. That means that what the values will not change in the program, they remain the same. Okay, then eventually you can use it to compute. And in this case, it's being used to compute the area of the circle. So pi times radius times radius. So that's pi r squared. Okay, you can also use the caret for the radius squared. Now let's go to scope, still on declaration. Scope of variables in VB.NET. Now, the scope of a variable determines the accessibility range of a variable at the time of declaration in any block or model or class. We've seen how the model works, okay, just like the class. Now, you can access it if the variable is in a particular region or scope in the same block. Now, if the variable goes beyond the region, its scope expires. Okay. Now, there are three methods used to represent the scope in VB.NET. There's the procedure scope, which is usually referred to as the local scope, or what we'll call in programming local declaration. Then there's the model scope, which can also be seen as a global declaration. And then there's a public scope, which goes to another higher level of a global declaration. Now, what does it mean? It means that with a procedure or local scope, it means that you are declaring a variable inside your procedure or inside your main method. That means that when you declare a variable in there, that variable cannot be accessed outside the procedure or outside your main function. It can only be accessed inside the function or the procedure in which you declared it. So that's called a local scope or procedure. That's to say that I'm inside my sub main. Sub main is a procedure. So whatever I declare here would only be functional inside my sub main. Okay, so from here to here is my sub main. So whatever I declare inside the sub main is considered to be a local or a procedure scope. It's only functional inside the sub main. Okay. However, there are other options, which is the model scope. So the model scope has to do with the fact that you are declaring your variable inside the model. Okay. So usually sometimes they use the private keyword or the normal declaration. So that means that before you even enter your sub main, you would have declared your variable inside the model. So right after you start the model, you declare those variables before you go into your sub main. Okay, that's the model. Then the global scope or the public scope. Okay, with that one, when you declare it as public. Okay, now when you declare it as public, it means that every method, every model can access that declaration. Okay, because it's global, it's beyond the model, it's beyond the procedure or the method. Okay, so the global scope is also known as the namespace scope, okay, which is every aspect of your system. It should be able to what? Handle such a declaration. So if you see that example here, there's a global declaration being done here. And this is, even though it's inside the model, because it's public, it's seen as global. Okay, but when you make it private, then it's a model declaration. So with this one, it can be accessed within the model as well as within the sub main. So we declare it here string, and now you can see here that's what that variable is being used here. We declare topic here as public. Now topic can be used inside the main method or every other method or procedure in your program. Okay. Any question before we go through the operators? That's the last one we'll look at for today. Any question on the scope?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Manuel.
Yeah, please, what's the difference between the local scope and the module scope?
So the local scope, you are declaring it within the main method. You get it? Your submain, the main method. That's what you do. That's what we do all the time. All the programs we write, mostly that's what we do. Okay, that's seen as the local scope. Now the model scope is when you declare it outside the main method. However, in that declaration, you make the variable private. Okay, so private, it can only be accessed within the model.
Okay.
Within the model. Okay. But the global scope is when you put the public. That means that both inside the model and inside the method, that variable can be accessed. Okay, or you can print out from that variable. Let me put it in that sense. I hope that's clear.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Now we have operators. Okay. Now, unlike Java, C++, and other programming languages, VB.NET has a lot of operators. Okay. Now, mostly we see operators to be what? Symbols. Okay. But in VB.NET, operators are not only symbols, but they are some keywords that are considered as operators as well. Okay, so we look at them. Now, operators are, like you said, basically symbols, or like I said, they are usually seen as symbols used to perform various operations. Okay, however, VB operators are special. Okay, there are some special symbols that tell the compiler what to do. These symbols are keywords. Okay, and they are grouped into these different types. So there's the arithmetic operators, there's the comparison operators, there's the logical or bitwise operators, there's the bit shift operators, there's the assignment operator, concatenation operators, and also miscellaneous operators. Okay. Now, so let's take them set by set. So if we take the arithmetic operators, which are operators we all know, used for our daily computations and all that mathematical computations. So we take the operator. The first one here is the carat. Okay, so the carat is used to perform finding a power, okay, or exponentiation of a value. Okay, so if you want 2 raised to the power 3, you just put the 2 carat 3. Okay, just as has been demonstrated here. Then we have the addition operator. We all know how it's used. Likewise, it is also used for concatenation, which we'll talk about shortly. Concatenation simply means joining 2 or more strings together. Okay. Then the subtraction operator, the multiplication operator, which is asterisk, as we all know. Now, there's something unique about the division operator. There are 2 of them. One performs division, and then you see the value as a float, whereas the other performs division, and the value or the output or the result you get is an integer result. Okay, so there's the forward slash, which is the normal division we all know or we all use from our program, the forward slash. That's a division operator. I used to divide one operand by the other, and this returns a floating point value. So if I do 1 divided by 2, I know I'll get 1.5. Is it 1.5 or 0.5? Sorry. I get 0.5. Okay. So that will give me, or that is how the forward slash works. Now, the division or the integer division operator, which is the backslash. Okay, so one is forward slash, one is the backslash. If you look on your keyboard, you see that these two operators are there. Now, anytime you use the backslash, it says it is similar to the division operator, except that it returns an integer result. Okay, so if I'm doing 1 divided by 2 using the integer operator, integer division operator, what do you think will be my output? What will be my results? Anyone? Anyone?
So I think it will still be one divided by 2.
It will still be,
I think maybe it will be 1 divided by 2.
oh, we are saying that it will give you an integer value.
Negative.
Who is speaking? Hey, then no, you've gone to negative.
So 0, 0.
0. Are you sure? Who is speaking?
Yes.
Theophilus.
I think because the first one it deals with floats, which deals in decimal. Okay.
Mhm.
And this one deals with an integer. It's going to omit the point, the
number
like the
after
decimal.
the decimal point.
Yes, and it's only going to display the integer number after the decimal. So I think it will be 0.
0, exactly. Okay, so that's what the integer division operator does. I'm sure some of you will be saying, but it's 0.5, so it will round it up. No, it will not round it up. Okay, it will take off any value after the decimal point, just omit it, and then give you the integer value. If you want to round it up, there are operators, there are functions there that will perform that rounding it up. All right. Then there is the mode, which is to perform modulus. So this is how you write it, x mod y. Okay. Then we have the comparison operators. Comparison operators are the same as the conditional operators, as you all know in Java. So if you want to find the equality between 2 statements or 2 operands, these comparison operators would always give you a Boolean value, either true or false. Okay. So this is for equality. Then if it is not equal, please take note, unlike Java, C++, where we put the exclamation mark and the equal to there to mean not equal, with VB, it uses the not the less than and the greater than together. So instead of not equal, VB is saying that it's not greater than and it's not less than. Okay, that's the symbol is using. So anytime it does this, it means not equal to or not equality operator. Sorry, it's greater than and less than. Okay, greater than and less than together. Then the greater than symbol to check whether one's value is greater than the other. The same with the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And then there are other operators. That's the is operator. So the is operator is used for objects. Okay, so if one object is referenced, okay, by another object, so object 1 is object 2, then they are equal, then it gives you the value as true. If they are not, you use the is not. Okay. Then there's the like operator, which is also used to check pattern of a variable, of a string. So it checks the string to see if they are of the same value, or they are of the same characters. Okay, same pattern. Then there's the logical operator. So the logical operator is the and or not. Okay, but it also has the XOR and the and also. Okay, so they also have a role they play. So the not, instead of the exclamation, it uses the word not. Instead of the double ampersand, it uses and. Okay, and then the or to. Then the other operators, also or else, is false, is true. Then there is the bit shift operator. Bit shift operator. That's the and the or. Okay, and the XOR operator, the not, then the double greater sign and the double less than. Okay. Last semester I brought a question. I gave them a question in exams concerning these operators. So let me try it with you and see your response and hear your response. So the expression is saying A is equal to 5 and 3. What's the value of A? Now take note, this bit shift operators deals with binary values. They deal with binary values. Okay, so first and foremost, how you tackle such a question is that when you take 5, what will be the binary composition of 5? 5 into base 2. What would it be? Hey, computer scientists.
101.
1,
01.
0, and 1. Okay, so that's to say that this is 2 raised to the power 0, 2 raised to the power 1, 2 raised to the power 2. Okay, now 2 raised to the power 0 is 1, 2 raised to the power 2 is 2, 2 raised to the power 1 is 2, 2 raised to the power 2 is 4. Okay, so 101 is saying that, okay, which values are we going to turn on? So we'll turn 1 on, 2 is 0, so that will be off. Then 4 is also on. So 4 plus 1 will give us 5. Okay, so our value binary value for 5 is 101. Okay, so let me write it somewhere here. 101. So what is the binary value for 3? This one is simple by observation. Please, who answered the first one? I didn't see the name.
So it's me,
Say
someone.
01.
01.
01.
So it's 1-1.
Who answered the
It's
first
1-1.
one?
It's 1-1.
1-1.
It's
Relax,
1-1.
relax.
1-1. Yes, 1-1.
Say please, the first one I will know was someone there.
Yeah, Samote.
Yes, please.
If you want to respond, you can raise your hand. So what would be the value for 3?
3 is 1-1.
Yes, David.
1-1.
David.
Say it's 1-1. It's 1-1.
Why is it 1-1? Can you tell us?
2 divides 3, 1, remainder 1. And 2 divide 1, 0, remainder 1. So from bottom to the top, that will be 1-1.
Okay. So we have here 0, 1, 1. Okay. Now we are using the AND. And the example people were giving me 8 and so on. Okay. So if we put our AND here, now how does the AND work? The AND works. Now, if you have 0s and 1, anytime you have 1, 1 is true. 0 is false. Boolean, true or false. Okay. So anytime you have 1, or the AND is saying that a statement is true if both or two statements are a statement A and a statement B is true when you use the AND if both are happen to be true. Okay. However, if one is false and the other is true, okay, then it is false. That's how the AND works. So the AND is saying that we have 1-1. 1-1 would give us 1, which means that what it is true. So both are true. 0-1, 0 and 1. Okay, 0 is false, 1 is true. So 0 and 1, because one of them is false, the entire statement from the AND gate will be false. Then 1, 0, 1 is true, 0 is false. That will also give us false. So this will be the answer for A. A is equal to 0, 0, 1. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
Yes, sir.
try this for me shortly. Let me hear your response. 4 B is equal to 4 or 3. What will be the answer? I planned we close at 12, so let's quickly work on this and then close. If you are ready with the answer, you can raise your hand. Don't just give me the answer, but you explain. Yes, Emmanuel.
So the answer will be 0, 0. 4 is 1, 0, 0.
4 will
And
be what?
3 is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. 4 is 1, 0, 0.
4 is 1, 0, 0. And then 3
0.
is
Yes.
0, 1,
0,
1.
1, 1. Yes.
So we'll use or. So what will be our answer?
The answer should be 1 1. 1 1 1.
1, 1. 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1.
Yes, Emmanuel, the
Yeah.
answer.
Say 1, 1, 1.
1, 1, 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Or is opposite of if one is true, then the whole statement is true. That's
Yes.
how all it is.
It's 111, sir.
Yeah, 1, 1, 1. Okay. So that's how the bit shift operator handles these expressions. So let's go back to the material quickly. Okay. Then it has the assignment operator. So the assignment operator, what we all know as the equal to, and how it works. Then the add and operator, the add and assignment operator. Okay, the add and assignment operator. So if you want to say x plus equals 5, it simply means you are saying x is equal to x plus 5. Okay, remember we use that in the for loop a lot. The same with the minus, subtract, and assignment operator, multiply and assignment, divide and assignment, then int, divide and assignment, then the caret and assignment, all performing the same rule. Then the concatenate also with assignment. Now with the concatenation operator, we use mostly the ampersand. Okay, even though the addition operator can do that, but mostly it's the ampersand. So you want to combine two texts. So you can see over here, one string is what? Well. Another string is come. So when you combine the two with the ampersand, that's the concatenator symbol, it gives you what? Welcome. Okay. Then there are other miscellaneous operators: await, address of, get type, function, if. Okay. Then operator precedence and associativity. Operator precedence has to show the operators that have highest precision. So there's the exponential, unary operator, multiplication, division. These are things we've done already. And then there's a code here, some code here to implement some of these things. Okay. So any question? Any question? We are done for the day. Any question from today's session?
Sir, please, the handout ready.
Next week, but we wanted to confirm the number of people who want it. Or you people, when I